Alright, let's get this over with. Spider-Man Brand New Day is terrible. The character writing is all over the place, the plot is a mess, the world building is absolutely horrendous, and the messaging in this movie is pretty catastrophic and immoral the more you think about it. No, this is not the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. No, the movie is not better than Spider-Man 2. And yes, the movie looks better than the Home Trilogy, it's acted better, it delivers some positive technical developments from the Home Trilogy, but in terms of the writing, this is some of the worst MCU Spider-Man has to offer, and I fail to see how this is any better than what we've gotten before. With that said, why don't we get started, shall we?
It's going to be a long night.
I'm starting off by talking about Peter Parker because he has many problems from the very beginning. One of which is that this character lacks any kind of backbone or convictions regarding his core beliefs, and it really shows in his actions. The movie establishes that Peter Parker has history with the Punisher, and they're connected enough for Peter to know his secret hideout without telling anybody, and he's willing to let him roam the streets, despite the fact that he's a brutal serial killer. Did we forget who this guy was from the Netflix shows?
People, ones I put down, people I killed. I want you to know that I do it all again. Bullshit about how crazy I am. I ain't crazy. I know what I did. I know who I am. And I do not need your help. I'm smack dab in the middle of my right goddamn mind. And any scumbag, any lowlife, any maggot piece of shit that I put down, I did it because I liked it. Hell, I loved it. I'm just itching. I'm itching to do it again. And you think, what you think? You're gonna send me to a nut house? Some doctor, they're gonna get me to stop from doing what I want to do? Well, that ain't happening. Not on my watch. You people, you call me the Punisher, ain't that right? The big bad Punisher. Here I am.
In The Punisher show, he's known for looking for an excuse for the fight. He feels lost when the war is over and there's silence. He's at home when he's the Punisher and he's gunning down people, shoving their faces against glass and putting men on meat hooks.
Got off easy, in my opinion.
You shut up a hospital.
Yeah, nobody got hurt or didn't deserve it.
Why would Spider-Man be okay with letting the Punisher roam loose instead of turning him in and getting him professional help?
Get him help.
You know, like what he tried to do when curing the villains in No Way Home? That movie was heavily focused on him standing up to a powerful wizard so that a bunch of supervillains don't get sent home to die. He realized that was the right thing to do, in spite of the personal cost to himself.
It's what we do. Yeah, it's what we do.
So it's total whiplash to see him in the very next movie allowing a serial killer to roam free. Aunt May died to uphold the principles that Frank regularly disregards in his day-to-day, and we're expected to believe that Peter likes him? Every single person that Frank kills falls on Peter as well because he had the power to stop him, but did nothing.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Does he feel guilty that his actions allowed the Punisher to operate and kill more people? This is never reflected on or addressed by the movie.
My Aunt May taught me that everyone deserves a second chance.
Peter telling Frank not to kill when he happens to work with him is just lip service, because actions speak louder than words. Telling him not to kill means nothing when Peter has made no clear effort to hold him accountable for all of the people he has killed, so that he's given professional help to change for the better. In Captain America Civil War, he was fine with arresting Captain America and his team because he simply believed they were a threat to international security. But you're telling me that he's fine with letting the Punisher roam free when he himself acknowledges that the Punisher can get innocent people killed in his crusades.
You can't just shoot yourself out of every situation. Innocent people get hurt.
This is a really bad start for his character. It is a total regression from his character in No Way Home, and they never explain why. They never critique him for looking the other way when that can mean the difference between life and death. And he never grows from this in the story. A Spider-Man that truly stood on his beliefs wouldn't act this way. Instead, he'd act like this.
You can't kill people, Yuri. You need to turn yourself in.
Or this.
Do you have any idea what happened the last time I looked the other way for Walter?
Or this.
Well, that's a risk we're willing to take.
Well, I'm not.
I also don't know where their friendship is coming from. All they've mentioned is that Peter saved his life one time at Staten Island. Okay, where does that make them friends? Peter should already be disgusted by his obsession with violence and killing, which would naturally motivate him to turn in Frank because he needs help, not an opportunity to continue the cycle of violence. Nothing about their relationship is ever developed. Nothing we learn about it makes it understandable from Peter's perspective.
Come on, Strange, have a heart.
If Doctor Strange is heartless for simply not wanting to save the villains, imagine how he'd feel about the Punisher. Now, I imagine people will bring up Iron Man or Captain America as counterexamples since they're known to kill their enemies as well, but I think the differences are immediately apparent when you break down their motivations. The Punisher gets satisfaction from killing and does it to unarmed and surrendering opponents, and he's extremely sadistic about it. Iron Man and Captain America kill in the heat of battle or war in defense of themselves or others. They're both willing to spare lives when the threat is detained, detained.
He's all yours.
You can't even turn either of them in for this. Using weapons to defend yourself or others is protected by the law. It's not much different from Batman working with Jim Gordon, even though he needs to use guns at times. He's not blind to the necessity of self-defense, and neither is Spider-Man. But if Jim Gordon did start executing people constantly, then they would try to stop him, even if it means turning him in. Now I know people are also going to reference the comics where Spider-Man teams up with the Punisher, but they're often missing very vital context as to why that generally works and why this doesn't. Not only did the comics give a better justification for why Spider-Man didn't initially turn him in, but he eventually did get around to doing that anyway. Now, I don't think comic accuracy matters when it comes to assessing how well written a story is, but to compare the two scenarios is a really strange line of defense. First of all, the Punisher didn't start out as extreme as he was in the Netflix shows. Yes, he targeted people for their crimes, but he didn't enjoy doing it. And he first targeted Spider-Man because he thought he was a murderer. And when they did team up, Frank respected Spider-Man's rule and didn't kill anyone they fought. Once they were defeated, they were turned in, not executed. Spider-Man understands that Frank is motivated by wanting to stop crime, not to obsessively kill people. When Spider-Man, Punisher, and Nightcrawler defeated Jigsaw, both of them simply left after he was already detained. Neither of them went out of their way to kill him like we'd expect the MCU version to do. In fact, the Punisher often uses mercy bullets as opposed to lethal rounds. This is not a precaution that Frank ever takes in the MCU. And when Spider-Man catches him switching from mercy bullets to lead, he stops him and calls him out on it. And Spider-Man doesn't respect Frank's disdain for mercy. The Punisher has become more extreme, to the point of shooting people in their own homes without using mercy bullets. He does this because he thinks crime has gotten worse since he was in prison. And as the Punisher got worse, Spider-Man agreed that he needed to be stopped. He chose to turn him in when he had the chance. He didn't help him escape, he just left him for the police, leading to the issue about his trial in court, where the characters in that story comment on how the Punisher has become more brutal, and that's why the public approval of him has decreased, and put him at odds with Spider-Man and Daredevil. This is something Peter acknowledges and hopes doesn't happen with Spider-Man. The relationship primarily remains adversarial, and Spider-Man intends to put an end to his Punisher days. Peter even feels guilt for failing to stop him, and how that results in killing more people, which is never a thought he has in the movie. He's consistently motivated to hold Frank accountable for all the people he's killed. This is not someone he'd stay friends with or refuse to turn in when he can. This energy is not present in the movie, so this comparison is inherently flawed. Not only is Frank more extreme in the MCU from the very beginning, but he does get turned in by Spider-Man in the comics, and he consistently states that he intends to.
Am I the only one who did the reading?
I know it's a bit of a tangent, but we really need to distinguish between when something is executed well and when something is executed poorly. Moving on to the chase, Peter is very irresponsible and stupid. He spends an absurd amount of time just talking to Frank during this dangerous tank chase, where he spends a good bit of it expositing their history to the audience when there's a dangerous tank out of control. Yes, he stops taking action for a good amount of time to exposit all of this when he should be immediately trying to stop the Punisher.
The hell, Frank? You just hit me with a van!
Quit your whimpering.
We're not doing that again, Frank.
You're goddamn right we're not. This time you gotta get the hell out of my way.
What, you mean instead of saving your life?
Can you not talk for a second?
You gonna talk about that Staten Island bullshit again?
Nah, well, you said it, not me. Look, man, you can't just shoot yourself out of every situation. Innocent people get hurt.
What do you think's downrange to that tank, dum-dum?
I was looking through some old photos and it looks very, similar.
I might as well repeat what I said in my Amazing Spider-Man 2 review. Why didn't he immediately take him out of the car and try stopping the vehicle?
Now that's spider strength.
Nice work, Peter.
Suit yourself.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
But no, guys, he's inexperienced. He's only been Spider-Man for 6 years. Seriously, how is he this stupid and reckless during a dangerous chase? In Homecoming, he knew to disarm an enemy first. He knew to do that in this scene, but all of a sudden, he thinks webbing Frank's gun will stop him from shooting?
That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
It's really great to see how much Spider-Man has grown over the years and become better at his job.
Oh, it's so simple.
And before I get people saying that his webbing is bulletproof, yes, people have said this, Homecoming literally showed that Vulture can use a knife to cut his webs.
Go home, Frank!
Go home, Frank. No, go back to prison for murdering countless people. What do you think he's gonna do the next time he has a chance to kill?
I'm just itching. I'm itching to do it again.
This is, unfortunately, not the only instance of Peter refusing to stand up for basic principles. Peter goes to Yelena to talk about the mind-controlling threat, someone who is part of the new Avengers. Now I'm gonna play a bit of this conversation and see if you can spot the immediate issue.
Take off your clothes.
What?
You don't wear clothes in Albania. Ditch the leotard. This is my office. Get in.
I'm fine, thanks. I'll just...
Wah, wah. My office, my rules.
Okay.
Now, in case it's unclear why this is wildly inappropriate for someone to do, a superhero mind you, someone much older than Peter and someone we're apparently supposed to look up to, Peter is very clearly complying to this only because she's being dense and won't cooperate with a mission needed to save lives. Using any kind of leverage or pressure to get someone to undress in front of you is perverted and disgusting. I refuse to believe that Yelena would do this after she literally used empathy to save the day in Thunderbolts. Though my larger issue with this scene is that it's played for comedy and treated as a harmless encounter, in large part because Peter himself refuses to call her out on this. Yelena is one of the new Avengers. It's her responsibility to know better than this. And by refusing to call this out, it sends a message that it's okay to do this to someone else, especially someone in a position of authority. This ties into what I said earlier and what I will bring up later as another example of Peter lacking a moral backbone. It's already gross that this scene is being played for comedy, but Peter refusing to call this out when lives are on the line is a really bad reflection of his character. He stood up to a wizard to prevent 5 villains from dying, but he can't stand up to someone pressuring him to undress himself? And no, her bringing up the fact that he might have weapons is not a valid excuse. You don't need to undress someone to check for weapons. She's also clearly bragging about getting Peter to do this when he's clearly uncomfortable.
You know, you're not completely anonymous anymore. I've seen your belly button.
Why is this in a Spider-Man movie? Not only is this humor wildly distasteful, but it's making a joke out of Peter Parker through this distasteful humor. It's really disrespectful to Spider-Man as a character. There's also a really bad exchange here where Yelena proceeds to imply that a mind controller who is breaking into government facilities and putting lives in danger is beneath her, and Peter doesn't call her out on this either.
Could we just talk about what I came here to talk to you about, the attack on damage control?
So that is more your area, like small potato stuff. Whereas the new Avengers are focusing on big potato stuff. This is the 4th attack on the damage control facility this month. They all searched for the same thing, VMAX.
What does that mean?
I mean, it could be alien tech, secretive weapon programs, or launch codes. I don't know. This is for you to figure out. This is small baby potato stuff, not big potato brain stuff.
Jeez.
Does Peter not realize how immoral and stupid this is? She's telling him that a mind-controlling supervillain is beneath the new Avengers, so her solution is to ignore it and not aid in protecting people from what this villain is capable of.
I'm calling you the stupid Avenger.
The fact she isn't taking it seriously should be enough for Peter to take an issue, which we know he would because he called out Tony Stark for not taking the alien weapons seriously.
Those weapons were out there and I tried to tell you about it, but you didn't listen. None of this would have happened if you had just listened to me. If you even cared, you'd actually be here.
Why does Peter have more of a backbone when he's 15 years old than he does when he's 21 years old? He has at least 6 years of experience as Spider-Man and doesn't realize how immoral her attitude is? People got hurt or killed during the tank chase, and this is Yelena's attitude. And what's stupid about this is that Loki was literally using mind control in the Avengers to turn Hawkeye against the Avengers, which was incredibly dangerous. He used that same scepter to manipulate the Hulk and unleash him. What if that happens again? Wanda mind controlled the Avengers to disorient them, and that included the Hulk, who ended up decimating a city because he was out of control. Why does Peter never point this out when this would motivate the Avengers to help him stop this person? Why is he a pushover who can't stand on his values? Like, yeah, the stuff that Spider-Man does is just small potato stuff. Go up against the Green Goblin and see how that turns out for you.
Hold it right there! I surrender!
Oh boy.
This is a really bad look, and we're far from the final example of this. Peter then goes to damage control, and I already have so many issues with this. First of all, Peter should not be trusting of them whatsoever. There are so many blatant signs that they're clearly shady, yet this doesn't seem to matter to Peter. Now, when he first enters through security, they demand him to take off his mask or they'll take defensive measures as they point guns at him. Really odd behavior for an organization that's meant to control damage instead of causing it. Then again, they're the same people who literally repeatedly fired shots at Spider-Man simply because he refused to leave his dying aunt behind. He should really hate the Department of Damage Control after that because they could have killed him for no reason.
I just did 80% of your job, huh? That's how you repay me?
This is something you'd see in corrupt law enforcement. This is something the anti-vigilante task force would do, which Peter should definitely know about even if they couldn't be bothered to address what he did about them. I am not accepting the idea that Peter would be so naive to this organization, not just because of the very questionable things they've done and what he's about to learn about them, but also because his arc in Far From Home was meant for him to grow past his naivety. That movie was a critique of how naive Peter can be, even when it comes to superheroes who otherwise seem like upstanding people.
You can't trick me anymore.
Mysterio had everyone played, so this should absolutely change Peter's outlook moving forward. And after he literally got tricked by Norman Osborn in Happy's penthouse, you'd think he'd be even more cautious with who he trusts since this resulted in his aunt being killed. But I guess not, because he's willing to trust the organization who shot at him while he was crying over his aunt dying. The same organization that was about to shoot him for keeping his mask on. The same organization that has the hand working for them when they're known to murder people. This same reckless organization is trying to make use of Shocker's weapons and possibly the other alien tech that Vulture's crew had. Peter fought to get these weapons off the street, but now he finds it cool that Damage Control is repurposing them for their own weapons?
The guy with the wings is obviously the source of the weapons. I gotta take him down.
These guys are selling weapons that are crazy dangerous. They can't just be out on the streets.
Those weapons were out there and I tried to tell you about it, but you didn't listen.
Wow, look at that.
Why do you find this cool? This is like Daredevil finding it cool for the anti-vigilante task force to start advancing their weapons. But you know, at least he had an issue with this in his show and tried to do something about it. Peter doesn't even display minimal distrust towards Damage Control's intentions, and unquestionably sides with them when he gets told they're up to something. Yeah, we'll get to that later.
I don't think Metzger knows any more than we do, but I told him I'd do whatever I can to help.
Why do you completely trust these guys? They're so obviously the bad guys.
I have every camera in the city running a facial recognition scan for him.
This is wrong.
That sounds super illegal, Spider-Man. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
The movie just glosses over this and moves on. In Far From Home, Peter never liked the mass surveillance element within Edith, and that's part of the reason he wanted to reject it.
Don't look at it, don't look at it. That's wrong.
But all of a sudden, he set up a program to scan the entire city with facial recognition technology? Where did this come from? Why would he change? This is also a good time to get into the technology Peter has access to, including his advanced AI, his gadgets, alongside his fabricator. Now, I initially assumed in good faith that they'd try to explain this, maybe through establishing a job, maybe 2 jobs, Peter's resources at college, something that would tell us more about Peter Parker's life. Something, you know, that a story might do to explore a character. But none of this is even addressed, and he has to afford all of that on top of paying his rent. And this movie makes a point that he doesn't really do anything outside of Spider-Man, so I don't even know how he's affording everything. It's not that it's strictly impossible, but it feels like we're missing something really vital to Peter's life that the movie isn't telling us or trying to explore, which makes it harder for us to know this character or what his situation is like. So, the spider mutation plotline gets introduced once Peter starts getting reminded of his trauma after attending Ned and MJ's party, provoking his arachnid DNA to mutate. Peter is noticeably struggling to control his organic webs and he can't use his web shooters because of it. I don't know why this inventive genius didn't think to place the web shooter somewhere else. He just wings it with organic webs when he knows they're near impossible for him to control right now.
I don't know why a half-human, half-spider would decide to work for an organization whose sworn mission is to hunt down anybody who's different.
Damage Control isn't after you because you're different. They're hunting you down because you're dangerous.
Okay, yes, Jean is dangerous and unambiguously a villain, but that doesn't mean Damage Control is off the hook. They hunted you down for no reason in No Way Home, even shooting you while you were grieving your aunt's death. So why is Peter, again, not suspicious of Damage Control? Telling him that they hunt people down for being different should be more meaningful for Peter to consider because that's literally what happened to him.
I'm fast.
Spider-Man really just stood there and let that guy die.
Good job.
Now that's spider strength.
He also doesn't have a reaction to this. He doesn't even say anything or show concern or tell Evie to send a medical team here.
Yuri, get EMTs up here, fast!
In Homecoming, he showed much more concern for human life.
Is anybody in here? Hello?
Spider-Man then puts a halt to Jean's plan when she gets in a helicopter and is too far to jump now. So instead of maybe staying there, warning DeWolf that nobody can get within 33 feet near this person, and informing her or Yelena on the threat to MJ's life so she can be put into protective custody, he decides to leave the guy unattended and swing over to MJ. How stupid is this guy? What's even worse is that he's not fully used to his organic webs, so swinging with MJ is incredibly dangerous. One mistake and MJ can die, without Peter 3 to save her this time. After Jean almost kills MJ, he takes her to Punisher's hideout of all places.
Why?
Does he have any idea of how dangerous and reckless the Punisher can be? If he knows where his base is, then surely he already would have seen the traps he set, or at the very least would have been warned of it by Frank when giving him the location.
Anytime I come here, I'm gonna call your name, okay? So you hear somebody out there doesn't call, you just take the shotgun. You let loose.
Either way, Spider-Man is really dumb here, and he's doing this while his mutation is making it harder for him to operate and sense these things. He still had the option to tell DeWolf that an attempt was made on MJ's life or tell Yelena to keep her safe. Later, the Punisher tries to help Spider-Man against his orders, and Peter says he'll handle the Hulk. Frank insists that he'll deal with Jean. Now, with characters like Spider-Man and the Punisher, I'd expect a really interesting conflict between the two because of their conflicting rules. Spider-Man strongly believes in and fights for second chances, while the Punisher believes that's impractical and only a liability to innocent people. So how far does that movie take the great contrast in morality between the two?
Do not kill her.
No, so I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it my way. Just go.
So frustrating.
That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
So for one, this is incredibly weak commentary. You have someone so determined to kill because he thinks it's necessary, up against a strong idealist who believes in second chances, whose aunt died to fight for second chances, and the most we have is Spider-Man saying not to kill, Punisher saying that he will kill, and the response to that is, oh, so frustrating. As if we're talking about a video game and not something pivotal like the difference between life and death. Not only is this shallow, but it's out of character for Peter to respond this way. It's just frustrating to you that Frank is going to kill someone? Peter should be taking his gun and destroying it to ensure that Frank doesn't kill her, but instead, he lets him leave when Frank just said he's going to kill her.
What's important is not standing by and allowing someone to suffer or die because you do nothing. If you don't get that, then you don't get the first thing about being Spider-Man.
This is the equivalent of if Peter simply told Strange not to kill the villains, Strange said he will kill the villains, and then Peter responds with, so frustrating, and just runs away without taking the box with him. Even The Dark Knight Rises handled this better.
You gotta be kidding me.
No guns, no killing.
Even if Frank is unsuccessful in defeating Jean, this means he'll just have his mind taken over when he would be incredibly dangerous in her hands. She might even make him shoot himself. Peter wouldn't allow Frank to involve himself at all, because this is far more than he can possibly handle, but he does for no reason.
Please, sir, there's people in the building. Just put it on.
I just need you to put that inhibitor on.
Or you put it on and the issue is solved. Spider-Man notices that Bruce is struggling to put the inhibitor on, and for some reason, just stands there while Bruce is visibly struggling and is about to transform into the Hulk. He just needs to put the inhibitor on his neck, which is what he does to Jean immediately. So what was stopping him from doing so the whole time?
Hello? Anybody home?
The Hulk, aka Dr. Bruce Banner, is in custody, currently being transferred to a psychiatric ward after years as a peaceful academic. The question the world asks today is, what finally snapped?
So Peter didn't tell them that he was being mind-controlled by Jean, and that he was never in control of his actions? He's just allowing Banner to be taken to a psych ward without making sure that people know it wasn't him? That's not just unsympathetic, but this also sabotages his opportunities as a professor, and now he has to deal with even more emotional trauma. The fact Peter couldn't do the bare minimum to help him is really out of character.
Dick move.
Metzger tells Spider-Man a lie about what he apparently saw when Jean went into his mind, which temporarily tricks him into thinking that Sarah was only part of his memories and that's why Jean mentioned her. But there is a reason as to why he questions this later. A very stupid reason.
I mean, it's not like I remember anything anyway, so.
So you don't remember anything?
Yes, that's what everyone told you, or implied every time they were under mind control.
Where am I?
How did I get up here?
Spider-Man? What just happened? I swear, all the things they said I did, I don't remember doing any of them.
Spider-Man, what the hell?
Spider-Man, what happened? Is that my gun?
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
They also didn't have a motive for the janitor who drove the tank, which would absolutely tell them that she doesn't remember anything and that someone took over her mind. Every victim would corroborate this by recounting every last detail of their experience when investigators questioned them on what happened. I know it's like saying grass is green by this point, but this version of Spider-Man is a complete idiot. How could he possibly have missed this when he'd personally register each of these events as something they didn't experience? He felt the need to tell MJ about the kiss, so he must know that they don't remember anything. It's such a stupid plot twist, and it makes Peter even more insufferably naive when it comes to damage control. Oh wow, who would have thought that the government organization that shot at Spider-Man when his aunt was dying, was about to shoot at him for simply not unmasking himself, has the hand working for them, and has Vulture's dangerous weapons in their possession to reuse, would lie about something important. Never would have guessed that.
You can't trick me anymore.
Instead, he's too busy playing around with Ned and MJ as if it's not worth checking on Jean's transport to ensure that she isn't being abused by damage control, which is something she tried to tell him about. Part of Spider-Man's belief in second chances comes down to him trying to understand what went wrong in the first place that made them villains.
If I can fix what happened to you, then when you go back, things will be different.
So with Peter's additional experience, wouldn't he think to keep tabs on what damage control is doing with Jean so they can be held accountable if they try to abuse her when she's taken into custody? Wouldn't he want to make sure that the significance of Sarah aligns with what Metzger said? Wouldn't he want to wait there so he'd be one of the first people that Jean would have to answer to? And if for some suspicious reason damage control forces him out of the conversation, that's gonna be really suspicious and telling, but whatever, I guess he's still learning and still inexperienced in a 6-year career.
Damage control took her into custody for study and observation.
Experimentation and other human rights violations.
Yes, exactly.
She was just looking for her sister, and I handed her to the people that took her.
Well, this situation seems pretty serious. He insists that he's gotta go and knows that Jean could be experimented on and tortured, maybe even on the brink of death if the pain is too much to bear. He's gonna take this very seriously because he's very serious about the safety of people's lives, right?
It's gonna be like that. You wanna go? All right, well, just give me a sec. Give me a sec. I'm not in high school anymore. Oh. Did you stretch? You a big stretcher? Well, you should do in your line of work. What about you? You guys stretch? It's so good for you. You ready?
I'm glad somebody has time to enjoy themselves when there's so much at stake.
Can you imagine if during the Washington Monument sequence, he paused his mission to joke around people about stretching?
Oh no.
My friends are up there. What?
Did you stretch? You a big stretcher? It's so good for you.
Imagine if he randomly did this in any action scene where the situation is serious.
Did you stretch? You a big stretcher?
Don't do it, Goblin. By the way, do you stretch?
It's so good for you.
Hey, Kingpin, are you a stretcher? You don't seem like one. Hey, Mysterio, are you a stretcher? Do you stretch?
It's so good for you.
Like, you understand how much worse these scenes would be if they played out this way? Someone is being tortured, and Spider-Man is playing around for no reason. It's absurd. It's tone-deaf. He also knows that the Punisher is on his way to kill Jean. Why can't Spider-Man send Yelena and the new Avengers to stop him? With Frank, confronting Jean will either get her killed or himself killed. Either way, he should be asking for backup so that he doesn't ruin the plan. Especially when Jean is holding a section of the city hostage and is sending the Hand to kill him. Later, he takes his mask off entirely when the damage control building would have cameras all over, which means they can get Spider-Man's face. Now that might be really consequential considering what happened the last time his identity was exposed. What's that saying again?
Kinda defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing.
At least put it up halfway, which he routinely does. Peter then removes the inhibitor during a high moment of stress when he's thinking of his traumatic experiences in No Way Home. He knows that he almost killed someone because he lost control and built an inhibitor in the first place so he doesn't have to control it. But then, in this scene, he just masters his control of the mutation? Where did this come from? He never practiced with his mutation to keep it in control. He knows he can nearly kill people without realizing it in this state, which is one of the big reasons he made the inhibitor. So why does he remove it when he's likely to kill these ninjas while they're being mind controlled? What does this mean moving forward? What if he experiences trauma once again and his mutation amplifies again? The same issue from beforehand can occur. The entire plotline with his mutation amounts to him discovering it, struggling to control it, finding a cure so he doesn't have to control it, then removing it during the final battle, and somehow gaining full control to the point he never needs it anymore. What's the point of this plotline when it ultimately leads nowhere and relies on no coherent progression?
Come on, you're not a killer, Gene.
Yeah, she wasn't a killer when she was blowing up cars, shooting up the streets with a tank, setting a time bomb in the tank, sending Scorpion to set fire to a facility and kill Spider-Man, had a guy walking into a speeding car, had MJ walk off a building after violating her consent, shot down 2 guards, unleashing the Hulk onto the city, sent Frank to shoot 2 guards, froze a section of the city while the vehicles were still moving, and sent the Hand to try to kill Spider-Man. But we're supposed to believe that Spider-Man would say that Jean isn't a killer. She even threatens to kill the entire city.
Come any closer, he dies. They all do.
But she's totally not a killer. This is like if Spider-Man said to the Green Goblin that he's not a killer.
I'm not like you. You're a murderer.
And look, I get he's trying to get through to Jean, but that does not mean absolving her of what she's done. In Homecoming, Peter is upfront with Vulture about what he's doing while trying to convince him that he's wrong.
How could you do this to her? Yeah, but I understand that selling weapons to criminals is wrong.
You can see in Spider-Man 2 that Peter doesn't tell Otto that he's not a killer. Rather, he's honest about how he's undermining the beliefs he established beforehand and how his arms have manipulated him into abandoning them.
These things have turned you into something you're not. Don't listen to them.
This will lead into a larger issue I have with Jean's character, but to stick with Peter for the time being, Peter's dialogue here is not good. Absolving someone of their crimes is not how you get a villain to change. To truly change a villain, you need to be honest with what they did that was wrong. Otherwise, the change isn't authentic or sincere. And to be honest, this might be because Peter doesn't think Jean is all that bad.
Damage Control kidnapped Jean's sister. Jean was just trying to find her. We were wrong about everything.
So what exactly did they get wrong? Jean is a monster that is indisputable. She wasn't just trying to find her sister. She went out of her way to kill people when it wasn't even necessary for her plan. She went out of her way to mock Peter's trauma. She sexually assaulted Peter and MJ through a mind-controlled kiss, then proceeded to mock Peter in a sadistic manner afterwards. But I guess she was just trying to find her sister, like how Thanos was just trying to save the universe, or how Doc Ock just wanted to build his machine. What an odd way to frame one of the most evil villains Spider-Man has ever faced. And this all contextualizes Peter being satisfied with Jean evading consequences for her actions. We know this because he doesn't try finding her on his own accord. In fact, he's fine with the idea of her running off and escaping accountability, never turning herself in or seeking any kind of help.
You gotta get out of here. They'll be looking for you. You're gonna be okay. Just go.
This shouldn't be satisfactory. She belongs in prison for all of her crimes. She killed people and needlessly found joy in it. She committed sexual assault for a laugh. She's more evil than the Vulture and Mysterio, and is only outmatched by the Green Goblin because, well, he's the Green Goblin. But Peter has no reaction to Jean evading consequences and doesn't display any indication that he's insistent on tracking her down or investigating her. He should be treating her like Mysterio or the Green Goblin got away.
He got away.
Good thing, too.
But he has no moral backbone, I guess, and the story has no issue with this. What if Jean just had another bad day and went full psycho mode again? You're saying the lives of a billion strangers are more important than Jean evading consequences? You want to know a story that holds a villain accountable in spite of their tragic backstory? Arkham Knight.
What happened to you was wrong, but you killed people. You have to pay for that.
Where is she?
I think maybe she just left.
He doesn't even call anybody after hearing this, like DeWolf or Yelena to make sure she's being tracked. He doesn't call up BV to use his facial scanning thing to track her movements in the city like he did earlier. He acts like the job is finished and is ready to move on to new work with DeWolf. Peter should be extremely dissatisfied with this result, not just because Jean escaped consequences, but Metzger did as well, and the fact Punisher almost killed him.
I'm sorry. I'm
Frank,
really
it's okay.
sorry for...
What? What are you talking about?
He tried to kill Jean and ended up shooting you, leading to Jean and Metzger's escapes. Peter should be very mad at the Punisher and want to turn him in for what he did.
No, Frank.
Why is he letting Frank off the hook for this? What if Frank actually did shoot Jean after Peter got through to her? That would really ruin the goal of trying to change her for the better, wouldn't it?
Attention all units, we have a confirmed bank robbery in progress.
No, we can handle a robbery. Try to take care of yourself.
Okay.
You want to know what happened the last time you looked the other way for a robbery? Or maybe it didn't for him, who actually knows at this point. Regardless, a robbery is still a dangerous crime. It can involve multiple armed people. Normal people can't dodge bullets like Spider-Man can, so looking the other way is inherently irresponsible here. How is this a good ending? Peter's going against the core behind Spider-Man. Finding balance doesn't mean ignoring serious and dangerous crimes just so you can hang out with your friend, which you can do afterwards if he really cares about balance. He also gets his friendship with Ned back when doing the handshake, so I guess Ned remembers it all now.
Peter,
So I guess the payoff in No Way Home was all undone. Ned knows who he is again, MJ seems to know since she remembers the necklace Peter gave her while at their spot at Midtown High, and the lesson Peter learned about how he can't just regain what he lost as a consequence of him withholding the truth for this long is just
gone. Reduced to atoms.
You can have Peter try to start fresh with them and that works just fine, but undoing the effects of the spell just makes the consequences meaningless in the long run. Losing vital memories will permanently change the trajectory of someone's life, so even if you can just tell them again, it's not going to be the same. I thought that was the point No Way Home made, and why Peter accepted that things won't be the same again. It devalues the sense of finality in No Way Home's ending because now you're thinking about how they're just gonna remember it all again anyway, almost as if nothing happened. Also, this movie never addresses Happy, someone who Peter also cared about, someone who motivated him to be a better hero and saved his friends, someone who took Peter and May when they needed a safer place to live. Yes, Peter should care about MJ and Ned, and it makes sense for him to want to keep up with them despite keeping distance. But if the challenge to Peter's mindset involves MJ telling him that they had a right to know the truth about their memories because those were meaningful to them, and that plays into why he changes and realizes that Peter Parker's life matters as well, then why doesn't Peter ever try to reach out to Happy? He doesn't even acknowledge him once in the movie. So, that's my thoughts on how they handled Peter Parker's character in this movie. Peter Parker is done terribly in this movie. He's dumb as he usually is, his morals are inconsistent, and his character progression is either incoherent or undercooked. He's horrendously character assassinated, and this is one of the worst portrayals of Spider-Man in movies. The Punisher isn't much better in this movie either. He's a complete Flanderization of his portrayal in the Netflix shows, and almost nothing he does is in character. The tank chase starts with him shooting a grenade launcher at Spider-Man when he's after the person in the tank. Not only would this seriously hurt Spider-Man, but it would also prevent him from saving people who need help. This would also make Spider-Man target him and completely derail his mission. Wouldn't the Punisher instead allow Spider-Man to open the tank and go for the final kill once the driver is exposed? Wasn't Frank meant to be smart and tactical? That's what the Netflix shows demonstrated, especially since Frank believes that someone like Daredevil should exist. That's why he spares Daredevil when he could kill him. That's why he tries to prevent Daredevil from crossing over to his side and becoming a killer.
So maybe just this once, your way is what it's gonna take. No. That's not how it works. You cross over to my side of the line. You don't get to come back from that. Not ever.
That's why he saves Daredevil from the explosion on the boat. That's why he saves Daredevil from the hand.
That Matt Murdock. Come on, Karen, he's good. Don't throw that away from me.
He believes in the value of superheroes, so he wouldn't try to stop one from taking down a speeding tank, especially since this can get Spider-Man to try and stop him. Does he have any idea how easily Spider-Man can take him in a fight? The next time we see him, he's at his base when Peter brings MJ there to protect her. Now this exchange is out of character for the Punisher because what Spider-Man is asking for is to protect MJ because a crazed killer is after her. But not only does Frank act dismissive of this, but he also tells her to kick rocks as if he doesn't want to protect her.
She's in danger, Frank. Look, I need your help, okay? Well, come on, you owe me.
Aren't you sick of this story?
Staten Island.
Nah, Staten Island.
What more do you want me to do? I literally saved your life.
You're out of your mind, kid.
I don't care, I just want to go home.
That's an excellent idea. Kick rocks.
What? What are you talking about?
Remember in The Punisher Season 1, where Frank set aside his revenge against Billy Russo to save innocent people?
You come out where I can see you, or I kill these kids right now! Let him go. Toss the gun nice and far. Knife too. Let him go. Let them go. Attachments are our weakness.
Remember in The Punisher Season 2, when Frank took it upon himself to protect Amy when he knew people were targeting her? Someone he grew more fond of throughout the series and was glad she was able to have a future? Remember when he saved Officer Mahoney, despite the fact he was after him and trying to have him arrested, and it was highly risky to save him to begin with? Why is he okay with letting MJ remain in danger, to the point he has to be talked into helping her? He's treating it like he owes Peter a solid and not like a life or death situation that matters. It's completely out of character. They also have a really bad piece of dialogue that contradicts his character in the Netflix shows. They talk about whether Frank's lifestyle is a choice, and he acts like he's forced to be the Punisher.
What do you know about me, kid? You think this is a choice? Living like this is a lifestyle? Is that what you think? Kid, this is a sentence. If I had 1 second, people I love were still breathing, you think I'd be hiding behind a mask? You think I'd pretend to be something that I'm not? Acting like a goddamn coward?
What is Frank talking about? The entire point of his character in The Punisher Season 1 is that it was a choice. He went from staying under the radar with a fake identity to reaffirming his role as the Punisher, because that's what he believes is home to him.
Let's go home.
I am home. Die!
and Frank doesn't know what to do with himself when the war is over, as if he'd look for an excuse to choose his life as the Punisher.
As long as I was at war, I never thought about what happened next, what I was gonna do when it was over. But I guess that's it. I think that might be the hardest part, the silence. Silence when the gunfire ends. Hey, how do you live in that? I guess that's what you're trying to figure out, huh? If you're gonna look at yourself, really look in the mirror, you gotta admit who you are. But not just to yourself, you gotta to everybody else. First time as long as I can remember, I don't have a war to fight. I'm gonna be honest, I'm scared.
That's what he did in The Punisher Season 2. He looked for an excuse to keep being the Punisher, and they reaffirmed the fact that this is a choice for Frank. He can't help himself. He doesn't want to live his life any other way.
You didn't hesitate, not for 1 second. You know, it's almost like you were happy for the excuse.
All I really gave a shit about is that my family was healthy, happy. That I lost them. Everything changed. I thought it became something different. But last night, I had a little chat with my wife. I sat by her grave and I realized something. This is always who I was. Maria, she knew. She knew what I was. She loved me anyway. I'm not like you people.
It has to end, Frank.
Who's gonna end it, though? These people, they won't stop. They can't stop. They don't give a shit about your law.
So what the hell am I doing carrying this badge?
I don't have answers for any of you.
Then what are you asking?
Let me be what I'm meant to be.
What if there's a better way? What if there is? What if you and I will figure it out together?
No, there's no warm, cozy ending. Not for me.
You cannot keep loving people in your dreams.
There's no light at the end of the road, Karen. There's no light.
There could be if you let it.
No.
You could choose to love
I don't want that. I can't do
someone
that.
else instead of another war.
I don't want to. There's that kid out there. She got people that want to kill her. So that means I'm gonna go and find them, and I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna murder them, Karen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that to keep her alive because that's my life. That's what I do. You want to be a part of that?
So this is yet another interaction with the Punisher that's completely out of character and ignores the Netflix shows. But I'm used to that at this point.
Stop shooting him!
You out of your goddamn mind!
Banner's not the problem, she is!
I mean, yeah, he knows this because Peter told him she'd be here. Why isn't Frank targeting the source of the problem? Hulk is obviously not going to be taken down by Frank wasting ammo. Frank gets taken over by Jean and they make a really bad joke about him as well.
Whoa. This guy's got issues.
With how much pain and trauma Frank has gone through, Jean would have seen stuff like Frank's experience in war and the loss of his family. They're basically making light of everything he went through just to get a laugh out of the audience.
It's a terrible joke.
The Punisher is one of the last characters that should be treated as a joke or be the butt of a joke. It's just disrespectful to his character. Later during the scene, he shoots 2 people, and when Frank regains control, the most he can say is,
"Is that my gun?"
Frank should be infuriated that his body was taken over, very likely to kill people. He would have been told he was forced to shoot 2 people, which should provoke a serious reaction from Frank. He should be furious to the point he wants to kill Jean right now. But the scene cuts and we don't get a reaction from him. And this context will only make a later scene worse. The Punisher sets up a sniper to shoot at Jean, one of the only in-character things he does in the movie. In doing so, he accidentally shoots at Peter. I don't know why he didn't just shoot again to kill Jean. Well, I guess we'll hear why in a moment. And since Metzger was strapped to the chair, he should also be killed for kidnapping Jean's sister and causing the issue in the first place. He then brings Spider-Man to a hospital in his full Punisher getup. First of all, I don't know why he's going here when they would get the both of them exposed. Doesn't Frank have friends in the military who can treat his wounds without having to go to a hospital? Curtis is a prime example of this. But nah, instead he goes the route that would not only risk Peter's identity, but it would also bring the police on Frank since he's a wanted man. I guess Frank forgot about that. I guess Frank thought it was a good idea to throw Peter's mask on all the way instead of halfway when the full mask would restrict his breathing. Yeah, that one's more minor, but it's still emblematic of how dumb Frank has become in this movie.
Where's Jean? Is she okay?
Yeah, she's okay. She's okay.
Where is she?
I think maybe she just left.
Why is he satisfied by this? Frank should want her dead. He shouldn't be okay with her having escaped. She nearly destroyed the entire city for a really stupid reason.
You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent. I make sure that they don't make it out on the street again. I take pride in that. Yeah, she's all right.
Frank would never say this, ever. I don't care if Jean saved Peter's life in the end, she still threatened the entire city and was more than willing to kill innocent people. He should have killed her when he got to the scene. She made him use his gun to shoot people. Letting her off for this completely assassinates the Punisher's ideology.
Throw him in jail, everybody calls you a hero, right? And then a month, a week, a day later, they're back on the streets doing the same goddamn thing. I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call.
What about hope?
Oh, fuck.
Come on, Frank.
About Santa Claus? You want to talk about Santa Claus?
I live in the real world, too, and I've seen it.
What have you seen?
Redemption, Frank. It's real. And it's possible. The people you murdered deserve another chance.
What, to kill again, rape again? Is that what
No,
you
Frank,
want?
to try again, Frank.
But no, apparently he's gonna let Jean off for her crimes. I guess Jean leaving the city is totally fine by Frank.
No, the city won't come back. I swear to God.
Shut up. Take the shot.
Go to hell.
Too late.
Why are you doing this?
Because you need to understand that pieces of shit like this ruin people's lives.
Killing him's not gonna bring anybody back.
No, but it will keep him from hurting anybody else.
No, I won't do it again, I swear.
I'm gonna count down.
I'm gonna hand him over to the police myself. I'm gonna make sure he pays for what he's done, Frank.
You don't do it, his death's on you. Either way, you're a killer.
What kind of choice is that?
The kind I make every time I pull the trigger. The kind I'm gonna make right now.
I could go on and on. There's too much material in the Netflix shows to demonstrate how Frank is utterly assassinated in the scene. In summary, go watch Netflix's Daredevil and go watch the Punisher show as well. He should be telling Peter how stupid his approach is. I can accept the idea that he'd apologize for mistakenly shooting him, but he shouldn't at all be praising what Peter did and being soft on him. This had almost irreversible consequences.
How would you take a bullet for that, asshole?
He should be telling Peter that he's going to keep doing things his way and that Spider-Man needs to stop interfering or he'll get himself killed.
I see real bravery, kid. My day. That was something else.
No, he would think that was stupid and dangerous.
What are you doing? You out of your mind? Think it's a game?
No.
Huh? You feel that? Huh? Was I kidding killing you? You know how quick it would have been? That's your head all over that wall. Just like that.
I was practicing the move you showed me.
Nah, bullshit. Trying to keep you safe, you're gonna get yourself killed? You quit your goddamn crime. God damn it.
Enough! She's just a kid. You don't have to talk to her like that.
We're not playing games here, Kurt. She needs to know that, so do you. We make mistakes and people die. They die. A man died today because I dropped the ball, and you did too, right? She needs to know that she could wind up dead.
So the Punisher is also destroyed by this movie, but surely the other characters will hold up, right? So Bruce is in this movie too. His inclusion doesn't really lead to anything meaningful, he's more so there just to exposit how the universal inhibitor can be made, and to have an action sequence with Spider-Man. I don't see why he needed to be in this movie, but setting that aside, his character is also inconsistent. Jean unleashes Savage Hulk after going into his mind and breaking a part of it.
I lost my inhibitor.
Look, here.
It's the only thing keeping the monster inside.
A weird way to describe the Hulk, considering his character progression in Endgame relies on Bruce believing that treating the Hulk as a monster is part of why he lost.
5 years ago, we got our asses beat. Except it was worse for me, because I lost twice. First Hulk lost, then Banner lost. Then we all lost.
No one blamed you, Bruce.
I did. For years, I've been treating the Hulk like he's some kind of disease, something to get rid of. But then I start looking at him as the cure. I put the brains and the brawn together. And now look at me. Best of both worlds.
So why would Bruce still think of the Hulk as a monster? He additionally refers to the Hulk as a monster in the scene with Peter, where he states that the inhibitor prevents him from becoming a raging monster. But I thought the point was for him to integrate the two identities so that even if he did remove the inhibitor, he wouldn't become a raging Hulk.
This is where I spent the blip fixing myself and integrating the Hulk Banner identity.
I thought that him going in public taking photos with people, without anyone being afraid of him, was meant to indicate that Bruce was no longer suppressing his Hulk side because he sees him as the cure. He's no longer afraid of him. In She-Hulk, I can understand Bruce wanting to choose between different forms for convenience sake, but in Brand New Day, he directly implies that removing the inhibitor makes him a raging monster that everyone should be afraid of, when that's not how Bruce views himself in Hulk form after Endgame. But what's even worse is that apparently, Bruce no longer has any control over Savage Hulk. Bruce is not even angered in the scene, he's more so confused and lost. But even if he was angry, there was a very specific payoff in the Avengers that explains how Banner is able to keep a lid on the Hulk.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
The only times Banner lost control of the Hulk since his own movie was in the Avengers, where he was literally being mind-controlled by Loki, and Age of Ultron, where he was literally being mind-controlled by Wanda.
Loki means to unleash the Hulk. Keep Banner in the lab, I'm on my way. Send Thor as well. Loki's manipulating you.
You want to know my secret, Agent Romanoff? You want to know how I stay calm?
Down the scepter.
I want to finish the plan. I want the big one.
So the fact Bruce isn't able to control Savage Hulk is a complete regression of his character. On top of this, Hulk's first instinct would not be to start a fight with Spider-Man. He doesn't even have any memories of him to believe he's at odds with him, but he just tries to kill him for literally no reason. When Hulk is in control of himself, he will try to save people when he can. When he broke out of Wanda's control, he felt saddened and horrified by the amount of people that were hurt because of his actions. He felt so sad about it that he left Earth thinking that they all hated him, and that he seriously wronged them. He stayed on Sakaar, believing that people would accept him there, and during a heated argument with Thor, he doesn't try to kill Thor, he just throws objects in retaliation.
You're being a really bad friend. You bad friend.
And when Thor tells him that Earth does hate him, the reminder of what he did hits him, and he's simply upset by it. He doesn't even try to kill Thor when he's being really mean-spirited and calling him the stupid Avenger.
Earth does hate you.
This causes Hulk to stop attacking Thor. He just walks away in anger. Thor is able to talk him down fairly easily, and Hulk even apologizes for how he acted.
Just can't go around throwing shields at people. Could have killed them. I'm sorry, I just get so angry all the time.
But you're telling me that this same guy is going to cause a rampage, try to kill a random superhero, and cause destruction in the city once he's in control of Banner's body? This is complete character assassination for Savage Hulk. During the beatdown, Peter calls Hulk Dr. Banner, and that calms him down. Somehow.
It's Peter. I'm your friend.
What? What are you talking about?
There's too much wrong with this. First of all, calling him Dr. Banner shouldn't work. Not only is that not what Hulk goes by, but calling him that is known to play into his insecurities.
You're Bruce Banner. Right. Don't mention puny Banner.
You're Banner's friend.
I'm not Banner's friend. I prefer you.
Banner's friend.
So when Peter calls him Dr. Banner and says he's his friend, that's not going to mean much to the Hulk. If anything, he'll think Peter is only saying this because he only cares about Bruce Banner, which would make him more insecure and aggressive. But also, you're friends? Can you show me a single scene that the Hulk and Spider-Man have even shared? Hulk was absent for most of Infinity War, and Peter didn't even meet Banner in New York before spending the rest of the story in space. And by the time he came back to life, Bruce was Professor Hulk. So where's this friendship between the Hulk and Spider-Man coming from? This was pulled out of nowhere despite them never sharing any meaningful history. They haven't even met. This is what gets Hulk to stop and realize he was wrong? And the conclusion to his character in the movie is him being sent to a psych ward where nobody stands up for him. That's it. That's how he gets written off. What a disrespectful way to go.
I can't physically throw up in my mouth, but...
So I imagine you've been waiting for me to talk about Jean Grey, one of the stupidest villains in all of fiction. I'm not even kidding with that one. Say what you will about the villain plans in the Home trilogy, they are not nearly as nonsensical as this. She's also entirely inconsistent in her morals. Her character progression is rushed nonsense, and the movie frames her in an overly sympathetic light to the point where it doesn't even seem like the movie is aware she's a villain. Jean Grey is very clearly sadistic in this movie, to random people as well, but the movie never develops why she's this sadistic. It'd be one thing if she was only this way to damage control, but she's like this to literally random people, even people she believes should be on her side, like when she demonstrates a clear obsession with tormenting Peter Parker, constantly mocking his trauma, and even sexually assaulting him and MJ to get under Peter's skin. Why is Jean this obsessive with tormenting Spider-Man? Even a character like Green Goblin was given more development as to why he'd behave this way towards Spider-Man. The same could be said for Mysterio in Far From Home. Jean has nothing to work with. She just toys with him for the sake of it, despite him having nothing to do with her revenge on damage control. She causes tank chases that she doesn't need to do in order to facilitate her plan. She sets a bomb in said tank. She sends Scorpion to cause havoc. She forces a guy to walk in traffic. She tried to kill MJ after violating her consent. She unleashes the Hulk while making fun of his trauma as well.
Both fighting a losing battle against the monster that lives inside you.
She's also willing to have an entire section of the city killed as she expands the radius of her mental freezing while vehicles are still active. There's a level of sympathy that can be given to her if she only acted this way towards people involved in what happened to her sister, or only took these steps because she had no other way to achieve her goal. But when she starts tormenting or hurting people in ways that don't even benefit her plan to get revenge, this becomes less about their tragedy and more about wanting to hurt people for the sake of it. It's especially hard for her backstory to be sympathetic because before the tragedy even happened, she was already taking over people's minds and violating their bodily autonomy for playground fun. Like, I'm sorry, there's a far deeper issue here than her just wanting revenge, but the movie seems to think that her tragedy is where she went wrong, and by refusing to explore why she even acts this way, she's a far less understandable character to follow. She's not an interesting character to follow if she's simply a sadist for the sake of being a sadist. You can have evil villains that do bad for the love of the game, but if you can't tell us anything about why they're doing this, or a layer of nuance or complexity behind it, then there isn't any dimension to the character to invest in. The Joker in The Dark Knight and the Arkham games is even more sadistic, but we have so much more exploration and development to understand what brought his character to this place, and the complex ideology behind it. We can understand why Batman grew into an obsession for him. There's essays you can write about that alone. I can assure you that if I ask you why Jean behaves the way she does to random people, or where her direct obsession with Spider-Man came from, the most you can really tell me is that she had a sad backstory. There's no substance to work with. Now, as far as why Jean Jean Grey is very stupid and morally inconsistent, why don't we look at the first thing she does? She does the tank chase to try getting into a damage control facility, something she has tried and failed on 3 different occasions this month.
This is the 4th attack on the damage control facility this month.
She's doing this so she can find something called VMAX, because her sister communicated that to her before dying. And when the tank mission fails, she resorts to using the Scorpion to try finding out about VMAX. Why does Jean need to initiate tank chases just to find information about VMAX and her sister? Why is initiating an escape for Scorpion necessary? If she can just jump into people's minds and they don't remember anything when she's in control, then why not just jump into the minds of damage control guards and keep hopping until she reaches Metzger? She can read his entire mind once she does that and the plot is over. She knows everything.
Not a great plan.
She doesn't even have to do this at a damage control facility. What about Metzger's home? Do not tell me that she's not smart enough to think of this when she took these exact measures just to track down Peter's identity and learn almost everything about him just to get under his skin. Surely she can apply the same investigative tactics to find out everything Metzger knows. Even for bad Spider-Man movie standards, this plan is exceptionally moronic. Metzger states that they're faced with a threat that they can't control or see. So if that's true, then they shouldn't ever be aware that there is a threat. They should be completely ignorant by the time Jean has all the information she needs. Also, why does Jean need to be in control of Scorpion in order to fight Spider-Man? Scorpion has a history of fighting Spider-Man. He knows how to contend with him. She can just look into the guards' minds while that fight is happening. There's no reason for any of this. It's just stupid. Jean then confronts Spider-Man as some random guy. Now, if she has the opportunity to talk to Spider-Man, why not tell him that her sister is captured? Spider-Man is the local superhero. He saves people all the time. Did Jean really not think to use her power to simply consult Spider-Man and inform him of the kidnapping? Why does she only mention VMAX to him, but conveniently leave out the fact that her sister got captured by them, and that's why VMAX is relevant? She does so in every interaction they have. She just so conveniently leaves out that her sister was captured. You would have to form conscious and calculated lies by omission to not mention something this important and pivotal to the situation. You'd almost think she was lying by omission by not telling Spider-Man about this. And no, she's not unwilling to disclose her name because she explicitly tells Peter her sister's name before passing out. And it's not like she needs to say Sarah's name either. Just say my sister was captured and that's enough motivation for Spider-Man to help her. But yeah, real convenient that she spent all of this time not telling Peter about this very vital detail that's motivating her entire mission until she's about to be knocked out. This is farcical. And it's not just Spider-Man she could have alerted. What about the new Avengers? The Avengers would be the last people to ever reject Jean on the basis of having special abilities. She would see that as a way that connects them. She didn't think to consult any superheroes with the truth. I mean, we've already established that she doesn't need to break in to find the information anyway, but once she gets the information, she can literally spread it to all of them and the word would spread. What's also nonsense is the way Peter finds out about Jean Grey. So the movie has made a point that she's careful enough to hide her face, even when in Peter's apartment. She's consistently shown to wear a mask so her face can't be seen. So later in the story, Peter gets a glimpse of her face on camera because she randomly decided to stop wearing a mask, which she also stops wearing when she arrives at damage control for some reason.
Good job.
Also, why didn't Jean destroy all of Spider-Man's tech so it gets botched moving forward? It would have completely hindered Spider-Man's process. Hell, she could have exposed his identity to the public. What the She's a worse person than Mysterio, so she has no reason not to.
I don't know why a half-human, half-spider would decide to work for an organization whose sworn mission is to hunt down anybody who's different.
I want to know why a telepathic mutant would torment superheroes like Spider-Man or the Hulk, who would fall under what damage control would perceive as different. Especially the Hulk, because he was blatantly hunted by the government for years, and in spite of how badly he was treated by many, he fought to save the entire universe, which Spider-Man also helped with. If anything, she'd want to bring these people to her side instead of tormenting them and taking pleasure in their trauma. There's no nuance that this movie has ever developed. There's no reason she would ever want to bash Spider-Man or Hulk for their trauma. She's just cartoonishly evil.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
But why don't we look into her backstory and see how well they justify her turn to villainy? Well, she's already pretty villainous by being okay with taking over people's bodies and violating their bodily autonomy. They mentioned that their mom sent them away because they're mutants and therefore different, but that doesn't translate to wanting to torture random people, including the same people you acknowledge are different. Nothing in this backstory does. If anything, it reaffirmed why Jean would stick with people who are different and not screw them over because they'd have relatable problems. She'd have a reason to to try using her situation to get other superheroes to sympathize with her vendetta against damage control. But nah, that's too interesting. Let's just kill the city.
People are monsters. You shouldn't trust them any more than they trust you.
She says that while she's trying to kill Spider-Man, when she never made any attempt this entire movie to fully detail her perspective so that Spider-Man would have a legitimate reason to understand what she's doing. A desperate person would explain all of this instead of being vague about something called VMAX. Her character doesn't get to act like she's just trying to get Spider-Man to see her side after she's tried killing him over and over. Even when the Green Goblin wanted Spider-Man to see things the way he does, he actually explained himself. He provided a compelling ideology and tried to warn Spider-Man of the consequences of heroism, and offered a very specific deal that Spider-Man has something to gain from. He's certainly wrong, but he at least doesn't come across as nonsensical when he tells Peter that he offered him friendship.
And her only crime was that she was special, just like you, just like me. People like us don't get to live a normal life.
What is the point of trying to get Spider-Man to understand her when she spent a good chunk of the movie not explaining anything and instead mocking his trauma and sacrifices of a normal life? Why does she suddenly care to explain any of this when she was just trying to kill him moments ago? One of the reasons Peter can't live a normal life is because she chose to torment him. Banner can't live a normal life because she unleashed the Hulk. She never reflects on any of this. Her hypocrisy is never called out by the movie or Peter himself. A better story would do this and use that to build a greater understanding of her character.
Are you Peter Parker? Or are you Spider-Man?
She is moments away from killing Spider-Man. Why does she care at all? Why does she care about his identity? It doesn't matter to her mission for revenge. It doesn't matter to her closure for what happened. She has no personally compelling reason to have any of these conversations other than to spoon-feed the themes of the story to us, which is bad dialogue and bad character writing. If you're going to have the villains talk about the hero's journey or experiences in detail like this, there needs to be a personally compelling reason behind why they'd even have this conversation. Otherwise, it's clearly manufactured and forced. Peter then approaches Metzger, and she uses him and the city as leverage against Peter. Honestly, I don't know why she doesn't just kill Metzger as soon as she manages to freeze Peter. She was certainly willing to kill all of those other people without hesitation, so just do the same thing to Metzger right now, and just kill Spider-Man right now. She just spent an entire scene on how much she's determined to kill Spider-Man, but I guess she really wants to go in Peter's head for some reason. I don't know why she cares about any of this. Just get rid of him. Their dynamic doesn't nearly have enough development to justify any of these unnecessary exchanges. And when Jean looks into Peter's memory of May, the takeaway of the conversation is to love yourself because you're you and you're beautiful and you don't have to be alone. Never forget that no matter how powerful you become. Great message. I'm glad Peter is showing empathy for what Jean is going through, but that in no way addresses Jean's reasoning for wanting to kill Metzger. Just because Peter tells her that trying to work through her problems alone doesn't work, doesn't mean she's suddenly gonna decide not to kill the guy who created her problems in the first place. Jean doesn't actually have a motivation to spare Metzger and the rest of Damage Control after what they did to her. So here's an age-old question that the movie doesn't answer. Why would she change? If a story cannot explain why a character changes, then it can fall apart. The only challenge to her beliefs is that she doesn't have to be alone, and that her power doesn't change who she is. That in no way addresses the morality behind killing or revenge, or violating consent, which she did before the tragedy, so she has no reason to spare Metzger and Damage Control. And the fact this doesn't get addressed makes it even worse that Peter and Frank are willing to let her go. Both of these are extremely out of character as addressed earlier, but I think this is indicative of the larger issue. The movie doesn't think she's a villain, just someone who was misguided into doing some bad things, but deep down is a good, beautiful person at heart. That is not what her actions communicate. She's willing to kill random people for no reason. She's willing to sexually assault Peter and MJ. She takes joy in the pain she causes and makes mockeries of trauma. You cannot fix that by simply saying she's loved because of who she is, regardless of her power, and that she doesn't have to be alone. But this movie seems to think that should be enough. This movie doesn't even seem to acknowledge that she was evil before the tragedy happened, because she was willing to just take over people's bodies for their own fun. She never takes accountability for that. She never takes accountability for anybody she hurt or killed. She never takes accountability for the sexual assault. And the more you look into the ways Jean is framed by the other characters, it starts to make sense.
She was just looking for her sister.
No, Peter, she was needlessly killing and tormenting people. That's not just looking for her sister.
Jean was just trying to find her. We were wrong about everything.
Wrong about everything? Even when Peter called Jean a monster for violating him and MJ's consent? That's just Jean trying to find her? That's you being wrong wrong about her, it's such an insulting and awful message to put in the story. And to be honest, it kinda seems like they're underplaying that scene just by how MJ reacts to being told about it.
I mean, it's not like I remember anything anyway, so.
Yeah, I don't think MJ, or any normal person for that matter, would react this calmly about someone using their body against their consent to kiss someone. That's kind of a big deal here, and she's brushing it off because the movie wants her to brush it off.
I know, and I'm sorry about Sarah, and I'm sorry that I got it so wrong.
Sure, he shouldn't have trusted damage control, but he's saying this after downplaying how bad Jean's decisions were, as if it was just about finding her sister, and that Peter just had it all wrong because of that.
Come on, you're not a killer, Jean.
Yes, she is. Are you crazy, Parker? Let's also remember that the memory Peter chose was deliberate, and it's also deliberate on the creator's part.
You're beautiful, and the people who love you, we love you, not because you're special, we love you because you're you. I want you to remember that.
Peter wants her to remember that, and he lets her off for everything, and so does Frank.
Yeah. She's alright.
And the ending payoff shows her on the bus, escaping consequences, and sitting peacefully at a park. Can you imagine if this were Norman Osborn on the bus? A good story might frame this as something for the audience to worry about and not celebrate as a payoff.
Don't apologize. I never do.
The movie doesn't frame this as the villain got away, the movie frames this as a celebratory payoff. This is deeply problematic. I guess this is all because she had a sad backstory, so that means it's okay to downplay the implications of her actions. This is the worst messaging I've ever seen in a Spider-Man movie. The movie regularly downplays how harmful she was in the movie, even having our title hero reduce her actions as just her trying to find her sister because she had a sad backstory.
Oh, boo-hoo-hoo, my wife and child are dead. I don't care if it's mean. Everybody's got dead people. It's no excuse to get everybody else dead along the way.
The story goes out of its way to say that Jean is beautiful deep down and deserves freedom after what she did. Remember when our heroes actually held villains accountable and had the guts to tell them how it is?
Protect me. You tried to kill Aunt May. You tried to kill Mary Jane.
You will go back to prison, and you will live the rest of your miserable life in a cage.
You'll be in a padded cell forever.
No, you're wrong. You are everything I wanted to be. You just threw it away.
You become what you've always fought against, and I will stop you.
You're ruling through intimidation and murder. You're just another criminal.
And Metzger somehow escaped by the end, despite the fact that Jean made sure the chair was completely restraining him.
How's the investigation going?
Metzger's still missing.
Even though she's not gonna kill him for some reason, surely she'd want him to face justice as well. At least send him to prison, but I guess she's fine with the man who killed her sister facing no consequences for his actions.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
Jean Grey is a morally inconsistent, strategically incompetent, overly sympathetic villain that has nothing of value to her characterization.
None of this makes sense.
It's a little random for me to have a section about Aunt May. People have said this flashback with her manages to fill the gap in between Homecoming and Far From Home, where she goes from being against Peter being Spider-Man to fully supporting him being Spider-Man.
May cannot know. I cannot do that to her right now. I mean, everything that's happened with her,
If you spot something like that happening, you turn and you run the other way.
And while I certainly have this issue in Far From Home, this movie doesn't meaningfully fix anything, because it doesn't address why May is suddenly fine with Peter endangering himself when he's still a child entering really dangerous superhero territory. There's a lot to consider in the situation. She even comments on how being special means that people can do dark, monstrous things to you. But telling Peter that he's special and should feel great about himself doesn't actually tell us why May is okay with him being Spider-Man. It doesn't tell us how she was actually convinced it was okay. And that's a really big missed opportunity in this scene, especially since it would kind of parallel Jean's situation with her mother, with the ultimate distinction being that May accepted Peter for who he is and grew to understand the good that his powers can do for the world. The flashbacks to the Home trilogy are done pretty badly. It's not that I'm against flashbacks as a whole, but the way these are done kinda treats the audience like they're idiots. That's the only reason I have a section on this. They're not too bad during the nighttime swing sequence, but some of them are really heavy-handed. I don't need to see Peter say they're going to forget who he is and that he'll come and find them, and that MJ wants wants him to tell her when he sees her again. We didn't need to see his final choice not to read the letter to MJ. We didn't need nearly every bit of dialogue played. We don't need to see all of this in order to understand that Peter is sad that he missed his chances with Ned and MJ. I'd be fine with it if it was just left at the mention of MIT and living together, even if they briefly show it, but it becomes so heavy-handed when they essentially start recapping the end of No Way Home for no reason, when he already has a letter that he read earlier that recapped the end of No Way Home. I feel the same way about the final battle, where Jean tells Peter that people like them don't get to live a normal life or have friends or family. I didn't need to see Aunt May dying again to know that Peter is thinking of her or the sacrifice of Ned and MJ. The motif they played from No Way Home would have been enough. The motif is tied to May's death and the final spell at the end. I don't need you to show me this stuff to understand what Peter is thinking of or what he remembers that resonates with what Jean is saying. Why can't the movie just speak for itself? I don't need the flashbacks to spoon-feed the thematic resonance of what Jean is saying. The world building is a total disaster in the movie. From the very beginning, this movie seems insistent on forgetting that Daredevil Born Again happened, which I'd love to do myself, but this is a connected universe. They make such a big deal about how effective Spider-Man is in reducing crime, and nothing in the montage addresses where Spider-Man was during that time. Despite the fact that Fisk had the city under tyranny for over 6 months, they couldn't even be bothered to address it, or where Spider-Man was during the Punisher One Last Kill when crime was rising as well. Also, what was the Department of Damage Control doing during the events of Daredevil Born Again? Because they were even against Spider-Man during the events of No Way Home. You'd think they would have aligned themselves with the Anti-Vigilante Task Force since they have an agenda against a vigilante. And because Fisk is enforcing the law, Damage Control would have to work with them as well. We know they have access to more advanced weapons and try to repurpose them. Why didn't we see any of this in Born Again? Imagine Daredevil getting slapped around by Shocker's gauntlet, and they so casually bring back the hand and have them working under Damage Control.
What? What are you talking about?
In The Defenders, they destroyed the building that served as the epicenter of everything revolving the hand.
She has the ability to bring us a new beginning. Behind that door is the true power of the hand.
The architect, he had this plan on how to take this thing out.
The only way to end this, to save the city from whatever's coming, is to bring this building down.
They will come back again and again, but these could end them.
Take down the building or the hand takes down New York.
These creatures once roamed the green valleys of my home. These fossils are all that remain, the last known deposit on Earth. But it is in our best interest to remove the substance with urgency.
Some place called Midland Circle, 44th and 11th Avenue.
That was the epicenter.
Of what?
Everything.
This was meant to be the end of the hand. Daredevil made a sacrifice in order to take down their organization. So how did the hand return? The movie never explains this. I thought they might have explained it when the trailers came out. I put them in good faith and assumed that. But no, they just straight up said they're back with no explanation whatsoever. And apparently Spider-Man was the one who took them down. I guess the Defenders didn't help him when they'd have every reason to, after all of what they've experienced with them. What about bringing them onto Damage Control? How was that approved of in the first place? This is a terrorist organization associated with numerous atrocities, but we're expected to believe that Damage Control can just casually have them in their employ? There wasn't any pushback from the street heroes who would absolutely have a problem with this? This is total nonsense. They didn't even try to explain this development, and after the setup we got for the Scorpion in Homecoming, the movie barely involves him in the story or the world as a whole. He had very little screen time, most of which was under mind control, and they still don't address what happened to him after Homecoming.
I've got some boys on the outside who'd love to meet him. Take a picture, slice his throat, put his head in the dryer. And I heard a rumor. You know who he is?
Well, we're never getting an answer to that, it seems. Who were these people Scorpion spoke of? Could they have been other Spider-Man villains? Did he work with them as Scorpion? We're never going to know because we never even see them addressed in the montage. What a wasted setup. The movie has no explanation for why the Avengers don't get involved with Jean Grey. She's a mind controller. That's not small potato stuff, as we've seen many times in the Avengers movies. Jean also managed to unleash the Hulk. She managed to take an entire section of the city hostage, but I guess we never heard from any of the new Avengers. The world doesn't seem to react to Spider-Man's mutation either. In his fight with Scorpion, he almost kills a cop and the city doesn't seem to care. The world typically responds when a superhero does something really reckless and it brings harm to people, but there is no consequence to this in the story. Nobody thinks of Spider-Man differently. They don't all have to hate him or anything, but they should at least react and question this, especially since the Daily Bugle exists, which is also also never addressed in the movie. There's no more Jameson. He seemingly has disappeared for no reason and no longer has any effect on the city. This is never addressed. It should also be public that Spider-Man and the Punisher are working together. Not sure how the city feels about that, since the Punisher is a serial killer. A lot of people are afraid of him for that reason. Does Jean DeWolf have anything to say to Spider-Man about this? I guess not. The world building either feels like they're not addressing things that they should be addressing, or they're just throwing random stuff into the world without any clear rhyme or reason. It's just a mess to think about overall. The plot is filled with gaping holes, so for this section, I'm gonna talk about the general plot problems that I haven't addressed. So for starters, how did Jean Grey manage to get the janitor into the tank? That would be heavily secured. You can't just take over some old lady and expect her to get in. Spider-Man also has inconsistent power scaling. He can dodge bullets from groups of drones and lightning from Electro. We're meant to believe that he has even more experience now, but somehow, after sensing Frank's grenade launcher, he isn't able to dodge it. And then his senses don't warn him of Frank's van, which is in no way moving faster than bullets and electricity that Spider-Man has dodged before. He also can't dodge a shot from Punisher that he can easily see coming.
Ooh, my spider sense is tingling.
You're not hard to track down, Peter. Not for someone like me.
Wait, so how exactly did Jean pull this off? The entire point is that Jean can't get into Peter's mind, so there's no way she could find out everything Peter knows. The most she would have seen, if anything, would be an old memory of Peter and his aunt. That doesn't tell you his current address or his name. The Hulk somehow sneaks up on Spider-Man when he has spider sense.
What's the matter, bro? Spider sense didn't tingle.
He's also really big and loud. Hulk grabs Spider-Man numerous times, whether it be as Professor Hulk or Savage Hulk. Either way, Spider-Man should be dead every single time the Hulk gets a hold of him. Remember when he almost choked to death in the hands of the Green Goblin? The Hulk should have crushed his bones very easily. He has strength comparable to Thanos, and the only reason Spider-Man could survive so long as he did against him was because he was wearing the Iron Spider armor. Peter doesn't have that against the Hulk, so there's no way he should ever survive a fight with the Hulk, especially in Savage form where he's less restrained. Hulk somehow gets affected by the Punisher's bullets to the point it genuinely prevents him from retaliating. Remember when the Hulk blocked Quinjet bullets with ease? He should just be able to grab the Punisher and kill him immediately. So the Punisher has plot armor as well.
In case you needed to kill me, but you can't. I know, I tried. I put a bullet in my mouth and the other guy spit it out.
Somehow, a bunch of rubble and webs are enough to pull down Bruce. I don't know why he can't break out of that through brute force. Spider-Man villains have managed to do this in the past. Hulk is way stronger than any Spider-Man villain. It's safe to say that the Hulk was severely nerfed in this fight. I also don't know how the Punisher managed to escape the damage control building. He's a wanted criminal and he was disarmed by Spider-Man. Why doesn't damage control try to bring him in?
Oh, well, that's convenient.
Why does Metzger tell an obviously bad lie? If everyone reports that they don't remember anything, then he shouldn't be acting like he remembers anything. Just play dumb, act like you don't know why she's saying Sarah's name. Even if this was someone she knew, what's he supposed to know about that? In Jean's backstory, Damage Control seems to very publicly attack Sarah and bring her into their custody. How they know she's a mutant but remain unaware that Jean is also a mutant is never explained. I'm guessing they learned that through the mother who rejected them for being mutants. If that's the case, I don't know why they didn't know about Jean, who screamed for her sister when it happened and just randomly walked away. None of them realized something was up?
How did this happen? We're smarter than this.
Also, why are they doing this in a very public manner? They look like they're kidnapping someone, and if anyone who knows her reports she's missing, and she was last seen with Damage Control, that's gonna be really suspicious, isn't it? What if Spider-Man looked into this?
This is starting to sound like a bad comic book plot.
Spider-Man then pulls up to fight the Hand. You know, the group that Daredevil is able to beat up on his own. The guy who doesn't have super strength, super durability, spider sense, and the reaction time needed to dodge an army of killer drones in Electro's lightning. We're expected to believe that Spider-Man can dodge all of that, but he has trouble beating up a bunch of ninjas. To the point he needs to remove the inhibitor? He didn't need to do that for the Hulk, but he needs to do that for a bunch of ninjas that Daredevil can beat up? Sure, that totally makes sense.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
And somehow, the Punisher can just casually walk around in a hospital. This is one of the most wanted men out there, someone who is known for shooting up a hospital, but somehow, he doesn't get caught when bringing Peter to the hospital. He's able to chill there so casually.
That makes no sense.
it's over!
That covers just about all of the plot problems I haven't talked about, so that wraps up my review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. This movie is a straight-up catastrophe. The story is utterly broken on every level. This is easily one of the worst Spider-Man movies. I'm honestly really close to saying this is the worst one of them all, simply because of how terrible the messaging in this movie is. It really is debatable if this is the worst Spider-Man movie, and I feel like it would only take convincing me on a few points about the movie to get me to decide that this is the worst Spider-Man movie. Even if this isn't technically the worst written Spider-Man movie, Brand New Day is the most tasteless and thematically problematic Spider-Man movie. And as it stands right now, it's my least favorite one. The writing is a straight up 1 out of 10. Almost nothing is redeemable about it. And that's all I've got to say for now. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.